Aces and Ashes. Chapter 7. The Betrayal. The night air hung heavy with the scent of ozone and the distant thrum of traffic as Ethan and MJ navigated the older, less traveled streets of downtown Las Vegas. Their destination. A forgotten slice of history, the presumed location of the Black Diamond Speakeasy. Whiskey Joe's fragmented memories had provided a tantalizing lead, a potential entryway into the labyrinthine Desert Bloom network, a place where the original architects had forged their empire and hidden their darkest truths. Their counterplan, audacious in its scope, hinged on this access. They wouldn't just find the truth bomb, they would detonate it, ensuring Thorne's attempts to sanitize his family's legacy would backfire spectacularly. But first, they needed to get inside. MJ clutched a detailed, hand-drawn map. It wasn't a conventional blueprint, but a sketch she'd made from her eidetic memory of the main Desert Bloom schematics, focusing on the founders, nexus and the connecting tunnels to Fremont Street. She had also cross-referenced it with historical photos of the area, noting architectural anomalies and rumored mob hangouts. According to Joe, the Black Diamond was near the first neon sign on Fremont, MJ whispered, her eyes scanning the faded storefronts, the ghosts of businesses long past. And there was a specific symbol above the door, a crescent moon and a star. Ethan, ever vigilant, kept his eyes on the shadows, his magician's instincts for reading the subtle cues of danger on high alert. They moved like phantoms, blending with the handful of late-night pedestrians, their urgency masked by casual strides. The antique key, nestled deep in Ethan's pocket, felt warm, a constant, reassuring presence against his hip. There, Ethan breathed, pointing to a nondescript, brick facade tucked between a boarded-up pawn shop and a perpetually dark liquor store. Above a heavy, unmarked wooden door, almost indistinguishable from the brickwork, was a faded, intricately carved lintel. Barely visible beneath years of grime and neglect, a crescent moon cradled a star, their points almost touching. This was it, the Black Diamond, the hidden entrance, the promise of answers, and the certainty of danger. MJ produced a small, high-powered LED flashlight from her satchel, its beam narrow and intense. Joe said a specific kind of light, and a sequence. He was a little fuzzy on the details. Ethan took the key, its desert flower glowing faintly in the flashlight's beam. He felt the familiar thrum, stronger now, as if the key recognized its purpose. He ran his fingers along the doorframe, searching for any subtle mechanisms, any hidden buttons or pressure plates. His experience with stage illusions, with concealed locks and misdirection, served him well. He found it, a barely perceptible indentation, a tiny, almost invisible keyhole nestled within the carved star. He inserted the antique key. It slid in smoothly, a perfect fit. The faint click was barely audible, yet it resonated through the quiet street. Now the light, MJ urged, her voice tight with anticipation. She aimed the LED beam at the moon carving. Nothing. She moved it to the star. Still nothing. Wait, Ethan said, a sudden thought striking him. Joe said, a specific kind of light. And he mentioned the first neon sign. What if it's not just any light? What if it's theatrical? He remembered the dazzling effects of early neon, the vibrant, pulsating glow. He subtly turned the key a fraction, feeling a faint internal resistance. MJ, her mind racing, understood. UV light, black light, used for hidden ink, for specific effects. It would have been cutting edge back then, a secret for the architects to hide their work. She quickly pulled a small, specialized UV lamp from her bag, a tool she often used to detect hidden stains, or for forensic cleaning after difficult jobs. Her pragmatism, once a source of frustration, now proved invaluable. She aimed the UV beam at the lintel. Instantly, the faded carvings flared to life, glowing with an eerie, phosphorescent light. And within the glowing star, a series of numbers and symbols, previously invisible, materialized. A precise sequence of rotations, a pattern of pushes and pulls, a code that seemed to pulse with an almost magical energy. Got it, Ethan murmured, his fingers dancing over the key, performing the intricate, multi-step sequence revealed by the UV light. Each turn, each push, was met with a faint click, a mechanical sigh from within the ancient door. The thrumming of the key intensified, spreading throughout his arm, a current of anticipation. With a final, almost imperceptible click, the heavy wooden door groaned, then slowly, silently, swung inward, revealing a flight of rough-hewn stone steps descending into impenetrable darkness. The air that wafted out was cool, damp, and smelled of centuries of undisturbed earth and something else, something ancient and metallic. The way was open. "Well done," MJ whispered, a mixture of awe and apprehension in her voice. "We're in." But as they took a single step onto the top stair, a blinding white light erupted from the alley behind them. "Freeze, Thorne Holdings Security," a voice boomed, amplified by a bullhorn. "Drop the key, drop the documents." MJ spun around, her heart plummeting. The alley, previously empty, was now swarming with dark-suited figures, their faces obscured by tactical masks, their weapons glinting in the stark light. Too many. Far too many. And they were too fast, too organized. This wasn't a random patrol, it was a carefully orchestrated trap. "Betrayal," Ethan hissed, the word tasting like ash in his mouth. Not a person, not a direct leak, but a deeper, more insidious form of compromise. Thorne hadn't just known their next logical step, he'd anticipated it, perhaps even planted the clue with Whiskey Joe, or simply monitored Joe's visitors with a hidden, insidious patience. He was always one step ahead. Before they could react fully, a flashbang grenade arced through the air, detonating with a deafening crack and blinding light. Disoriented, their ears ringing, Ethan instinctively pulled MJ back, plunging them down the first few steps into the darkness of the speakeasy. "Down. Go, go," Ethan shouted, pushing her ahead. They stumbled down the rough steps, the heavy door above them slamming shut with a resounding thud, plunging them into absolute darkness. The sound of boots thundering down the steps after them confirmed their grim reality. They were trapped, cornered. They landed hard on a cold, damp floor. The air was thick with dust and the oppressive silence of a tomb. Ethan, recovering first, activated a small, tactical light on his keychain. The beam cut through the black, revealing a cavernous, dilapidated space, the main hall of the Black Diamond. Broken tables, overturned chairs, and decades of dust lay beneath crumbling arches. "Where's the network access?" Ethan demanded, his voice strained. "There has to be another way in from here." MJ was already frantically unzipping her satchel, trying to pull out the rolled-up blueprints. But as her fingers grasped the paper, a figure lunged from the darkness, a blurred shape against the faint light from the top of the stairs where Thorne's men were now descending, their flashlights sweeping the space. A desperate tug of war ensued. "Give it to me," the assailant barked, a deep, guttural voice. It wasn't one of Thorne's elite security. It was a rough, opportunistic mercenary, likely hired for the dirty work, a shadow dweller Thorne had activated to retrieve the package. MJ held on, fiercely. This wasn't just paper, it was knowledge, their key to understanding, their leverage against Thorne. But the man was stronger, fueled by a brutal efficiency. Ethan, recovering from the flashbang, moved with the speed of a serpent. He slammed his elbow into the man's ribs, twisting, attempting to use misdirection and leverage. But the mercenary was too solid, too focused. With a final, vicious jerk, he ripped the rolled blueprints and MJ's precious research notes from her grasp. "No," MJ cried, lunging forward, but it was too late. The man vanished back into the shadows of the crumbling speakeasy, the blueprints clutched in his hand. Thorne's tactical team burst into the room, their weapons raised, their lights sweeping. "They're in here. Don't let them get to the main network." "Forget the blueprints, MJ," Ethan yelled, grabbing her arm. "We have to move." He pulled her towards a faint draft, a subtle air current he'd felt when they'd first entered. It was a passage she hadn't noticed on her quick mental scan of the Black Diamond's immediate vicinity, but her knowledge of underground systems instinctively recognized it. A service tunnel, an emergency exit, perhaps. They scrambled through a narrow, almost invisible crack in a disused fireplace, emerging into a tight, damp utility tunnel. Behind them, the sounds of Thorne's men cursing, shouting orders, echoed in the ruined speakeasy. They were cornered, but not yet caught. MJ's mind raced. The blueprints were gone. All their detailed notes, their precise coordinates, their visual confirmation of the network's layout, taken. She still had her eidetic memory, but the sheer volume of information, the tiny symbols, the exact sequences, it was a crushing blow. They had lost a vital piece of the puzzle, a crucial advantage. This way, MJ gasped, forcing herself forward, her architectural instincts overriding her despair. Old sewer line. Runs under Fremont. It's dirty, but it's a way out. They plunged into the darkness, the stench of stagnant water filling their nostrils. The last-ditch escape was grim, desperate. They had gained entry, only to be ambushed, stripped of a critical resource, and driven into the literal sewers of Las Vegas. Thorne had sent a clear message. The predator's shadow was long, and it was closing in, but they were still breathing, and the key to everything, was still in Ethan's hand.